I will be talking about the INTJ, the MasterMind, but before that I want to talk about this pen and how it relates to type. And I can just perhaps start with INTJ use introverted intuition. And introverted intuition refers to how we take in information. It's true, intuitive mean, introverted stands for internally. However, if we talk about other type, and let's see how other type thinks. When they see a pen, let's say a person that uses primarily extroverted sensation. INTJ has it, but it has it in the lower down. So they don't use extroverted sensation as much. But what extroverted sensation does in a top position, let's say for ESTP for example, they see a pen and they see the pen for what it is, how it is presented. I mean, it's blue, it's white, and so on. So they might even in terms of merging themselves with the object. So they might take the pen and start using it, because extroverted sensation is concerned about experiencing. So they stay true to the object. They stay true to the pen. The pen is a pen, and that's what it is. So let's have fun with this pen, and let's use it for something, and so on. And people that has, let's say, ISTJ, ISFJ is introverted sensing. INTJ has it, but let's say ISTJ and ISFJ has introverted sensing. And what happens is when you use introverted sensing, when you see a pen, you don't just see a pen, you see what the pen elicits in you, what it triggers in you. So they see a pen, they might trigger childhood memories, so they might remember during a time when they used a pen in their childhood years and so on. So the experience of the pen becomes personalized, it becomes subjective. That's why it's introverted, it's becomes subjective, it's within the person. And what happens is that if you have, for example, an extrovert intuition, primarily using extrovert intuition, such as ENTP, INTP also use extrovert intuition. What happens is that when they see a pen, they see the potential within a pen. They don't see a pen for what it is, they see the pen for what other things it could be used for. So when I see potential within object, I'm not saying the pen is a horse or a pen is a dog. I'm just saying the pen has the potential, it can potentiate. It can be used to something else. So you can use the pen, for example, as an ashtray. Boom. So that's why INTPs and NTP can see possibilities within the external world, because they use extrovert intuition. So they see the potential within people, things, and events. But INTJ that use introvert intuition, when they see a pen, and this is very interesting because there's very few introverted dominance type, and INTJ female is very rare. It's very rare, and you probably will find them in museums and libraries and so on, and even on the internet. However, what I was going to say was that when they see a pen, they are not interested with the pen itself, as extroverted sensing would do. They are interested in what the pen triggers within them, what images it triggers within them, what the pen represents, and so on, and what the pen could, in a sense, find the universal truth. So the pen for them, they will ask themselves the question, does the pen really exist? And you can understand how dominant introverted intuition can start being philosophical. However, it's more INTP that people would say it's more philosophical, but INFJ and INTJ as well could be also philosophical in that sense. Everyone could be philosophical, but INTJ would be the person, at least INFJ would be the person that's a dominant introverted intuition, asking if the reality exists in the first place. And that's a very for people, as there is more sensors in the world, for them it's how could you even think that, And there are even people that will deny the existence of introverted intuition, and they will be dominant sensor usually. And so yeah, but I'm going to talk about introverted intuition now. And no, INTJ is also known as mastermind, and they are known as mastermind because people like to think of them thinking as a chess. The world is a chess to be played, and it has to be played very seriously. And because what happens is that with INTJ, they use first introvert intuition. So they come with an inner image of a image of what they want the future to be. So they have this inner image that they are striving to achieve, and this and for them to in order for them to achieve this inner image of their goal attainment, they use extroverted thinking. And extroverted thinking is about planning, it's about scheduling, it's about making logical decisions, it's about organizing the external world. So when I mean organizing, I mean in terms of planning, making schedules, times, and events, seeing how much resource you have, how can you use the resource. And if you think of a chess, you have different players, and how can you move the different players. And it's like what the extroverted thinking does with introverted intuition. It becomes strategic. It knows how to put the pieces where and so on to obtain the goal. So they have a very single focus on the goal. The INTJ are known to be very single focused, like having this, in a sense, a tunnel vision towards their aim, and they will reorganize the whole, in a sense, reality towards achieving this goal. And people often think INTJ as very organized because they use extroverted thinking, meaning they are organizing their external world. They will make, you can see INTJ putting many notes on the walls or many notes in their books, organizing it into different section colors and so on, or even things what they're gonna do. And people will think, oh my gosh, INTJ is really organized. In reality, INTJ are dominant introverted intuition. They are not dominant extroverted thinking. Dominant extroverted thinking are organizing the world. They live in the world, and in a sense, they are organized. It's not to say that they cannot have a messy room. It's nothing to do with that. It's just they like to structure the world and living in a controlled world. INTJ, because their dominant is introverted intuition. Introverted intuition is not about organizing the external world. Introverted intuition is information intake, meaning they're constantly taking in information. And what happens is that whereas INTJ, even though they seem organized in the external world, in their head they are far away from organized. I mean, their head are playing, having inner images, and they will see connection patterns and find understanding to the universal truth and so on. And so if you have an INTJ who has very dominant introverted intuition, but they haven't developed extroverted thinking as much, they might even be confused, because what happens is that they don't know how to organize their inner thoughts, and that's why INTJ used to put often notes in the walls and so on. They are organizing their thoughts, so they will be able to move, to act upon, and even creating a structure within themselves. So INTJ has this, in a sense, how can you describe it? INTJ is like having their heads in the clouds. Literally, when you see an INTJ, you probably is going to see a person having their head in the clouds. It's because they're using introverted intuition. And because they're using introverted intuition, the extroverted sensing becomes deprived of energy, because they're pulling the energy towards introverted intuition. What happens is it takes away the energy, the psychic energy, from extroverted intuition. And remember, extroverted intuition is about the external world. So, INTJ along with INFJ, they're the people that will bump into things. They will lose stuff. They will break stuff. Don't hand an INTJ or an INFJ a mobile phone. Within a week, it's gonna be broken. They are so in their head. They are so introverted in their head, seeing internal images, internal possibilities, and so on, that in a sense their touch with reality is, or not reality, because reality could be seen in many ways, but they're in touch with extroverted sensing. The world as it is becomes less of concern. So dominant introvert intuition are often known to come late as well, because they are wandering in their heads. So what happens is that at least, at least they have extroverted sensing, but it's in the fourth position. And what happens is that it's half conscious and half unconscious. But once they get older, they get more access to extroverted intuition, but they are never going to truly own the extroverted and no, I mean sensing. They are never going to truly own extroverted sensing, because it's in a position in which the introverted intuition does not allow it to, because the introverted intuition sort of the psychological tool, the INTJ trust. And so yeah, and INTJ, INFJ, like I said, so extroverted sensing, in terms of often when they become stressed, what happens is the energy from introverted intuition gets pulled into the extroverted sensing. Yeah, and what happens is that when that happens, the INTJ, if you know, and INFJ, they might overindulge in sensory pleasure. They might overeat. Um, they might tidy their room. They might eat too much chocolate. They might watching a movie many times and so on. And what happens is that they are being pulled from their introvert intuition world towards the extrovert intuition. But because they don't own the extrovert intuition, it becomes you can say, it has like a childlike quality, as you would say. And it has this quality of all or nothing. So they don't really own that psychic energy, that psychological energy towards that consciousness. And so I think that's maybe enough for INTJ. And let's see. Yeah. I can perhaps mention that they use recalling as their last position. Recalling is like I said, is about an object triggering a previous experience. So a pen might trigger a childhood experience and so on. So what happens is that, and this experiencing, people as introverted sensing as dominant, they may experience, but they might experience the emotion within the object and so on, and they remember everything about that event when they used a pen. It was so nice, and they're reliving the moment, they're reliving the emotion that accompanies it. INTJ has this as the last function. The most repressed of their conscious function is introverted sensing. And what happens is that INTJ is not really too concerned with that past. I mean, they might even not see history as relevant for its own sake. I mean, they might see history as relevant only in relation to the introverted intuition, because introverted intuition connects past, present, and the future. But they are not the people that will walk in a place and say, "Oh, remember this time? Do you remember this time?" and so on. They probably are already creating new images in order to get an understanding of a universal truth or an image in which they want to pursue. So yeah, that's enough about INTJ. I can go about hours and hours about INTJ. I really find them very fascinating, and when I have conversation with them, it's really interesting. The INTP INTJ combination is really interesting when they have starting having conversations, because yeah, I'll go into that another day, but